According to the Gospels, about 2,000 years ago lived a man called Jesus. During his life, to his contemporaries, he seemed like a regular human. Well, maybe not regular, actually pretty special and different, but nevertheless a human being. It didn't cross anyone's mind to question that part, that he was a human being. But after his death on the cross, according to testimonies of his disciples, he resurrected from the dead and showed himself as immortal to them. And he was still in his body, which was same as it was before he died. So much that his body even included the wounds of which he died from. So very real and very human, except from the part that he wasn't dead anymore. He was immortal. This way the apostles were reminded that on few occasions during their time with Jesus, he used the term Son of God, referring to himself. But at this point, with Jesus standing in front of them, resurrected from the dead, the phrase Son of God got a completely new meaning. And it's this factor of immortality shown through the event of Christ's resurrection that later also influenced Christians to formulate what the phrase the Son of God really means, as much as that is possible with human language. So on the one hand, we have the reality of Christ's humanity as witnessed by all around him, and on the other, the reality of Christ's immortal body that was shown only to his disciples. Historically speaking, the first issue was to point out that Christ was not only a human, but also a God, which the phrase Son of God implies. It's the same as it would be with a man. The son of a man is a man. So the Son of God is therefore a God. Later on, the problem was also to point out that Christ's humanity was real, that it was same as our humanity. Although many people have saw him like a regular man, the faith in his resurrection casted a doubt in minds of many that his humanity was real in the first place, exactly because he resurrected and therefore he is the Son of God. The core of the problem was how we can have one and two reconciled at the same time, meaning that one historical person was both a man and a God, that he has a human nature or essence and a divine nature or essence, and it is a problem and a difficult one. One of the better and easy to grasp explanations was one where we use an analog example of a man. A man has a body and a soul, a visible and an invisible part of himself. So we see that one person can have two different natures, a visible and an invisible one, but still be just one person. Now we can use this example to explain how similarly Christ can be both a God and a man. He is one person which has two different natures, a divine nature and a human nature. But in order to really explain this fully, we have to pass the comparison with a man's body and soul. This is necessary because the whole idea of Incarnation of Christ is of the utmost importance in Christianity because it is a basis for immortality of humans, or to put it simply, a salvation from death, from non-existence. So to understand the Incarnation of Christ, we must firstly go back to the act of creation, because the two are directly correlated. There are many consequences that arise from the notion of this world being created by God, as written in the book of Genesis. There, God is creating this world by saying the word, "Let there be." So he says something and it happens because of his doing. That means the creation of the world is an act of God's will. And that implies that created world doesn't emerge from God, from his essence, that it's not a part of him in any way. The very being of the world was created out of nothing, and so it naturally tends to go back to nothing, to the state of non-existence or death. Only it wasn't God's intention to have death be actualized in this world. Humans are those who, by committing sin, activated mortality in the world. But the mortality of everything in this world could be activated by sin only because of the fact that this world is created and therefore mortal. So since God didn't create this world for it to eventually disappear, He had a plan how to prevent that in a definite way. And that plan was to send His Son to become a man and unite God's being and a human being in such a way that no doings of man can interfere with His plan. That unity of God and man had to be done on an existential level, so that human nature will forever be bound to God and from Him receive His eternal being. In other words, receive immortality. And now we have to get into how the Church Fathers explained who Christ was. His resurrection showed Him as immortal, proving that He was the Son of God, which implies He is an eternal being. A phrase was used to describe Son of God, and it said, "There was not a time when He was not," meaning that He always was, since He is eternal, like God the Father. But at one point in history, the Son of God becomes a man, who was named Jesus. Now we have to immediately point out that this was just one person. The Son of God and the historical Jesus is one and the same person, meaning that this person is a divine person. The name Jesus is what He receives as He becomes a man. So Christ is the divine person, one of the Holy Trinity. The Son, who is a God always, both before He became a man and after He became a man. The essence or nature of Son is the essence or nature of God, and it always is. But the Son of God now becomes a man, a human, taking a human essence or nature, and adding it to His divine essence or nature. In other words, He, the Son of God, becomes a complete human. Only in doing so, He doesn't get another person. He doesn't become a human person. So Christ is one person, that of the Son of God. But now He has two essences or natures. And this is the crucial point. Son of God now has a human essence as His own, and since He resurrected with this human essence and descended with it, it will be His own forever. God's essence and human essence are now forever united in the person of the Son of God. And that is what is a salvation for us. So we are saved by the Incarnation of Christ, because through incarnation, God and man are forever united. And appropriately, as a man, He was named Jesus, which means a Savior. So to recapitulate, Christ is the Son of God, one person, which has two essences or natures, the essence of God and the essence of man. And the word was coined the Godman, to describe that the Son of God, who became a man, named Jesus, is both a God and a man.